Are you for C? Are you for B? Which one are you? They're like twins that are close enough where, you know, they can get away with pretending to be each other. That's the best I got. Is your hair really 4C? And what does 4C even mean? Let's talk about it. So there's multiple components that go into the makeup of your hair. There's density, there's porosity, there's type, there's structure, there's hair moisture, there's texture. So we're gonna check it all out. And the best way for you to figure out what exactly you should be buying when you go to Walmart or just your beauty store is to know exactly what your hair wants. By knowing exactly who your hair is. So let's start with an easy one, type. What type of hair do you have? You have 4 options. 1, straight. 2, wavy. 3, curly. And 4, coily or kinky. Coily and kinky hair have the most amount of shrinkage. Curly hair has a bit of a shrinkage. Wavy hair is very subtle, and straight has none. And when I say shrinkage, I'm referring to when your hair is laying here without being touched. Does your hair reflect the same length that your hair is? If your hair is sitting here without being touched, but your hair is this long, that is extreme shrinkage. If your hair is sitting here and your hair is this long, it's very subtle and it's probably wavy. Wavy, which looks like a wave. You know what a wave looks like, okay? Curly, which has more of a curl, right? And then kinky, which is extremely tight to the point where the only way that you're going to really see the curls properly would be to pull it out a little bit, right? Stretch it out. Another thing that goes into your hair is density. Low density, medium density, or high density. Density refers to the amount of growth or the amount of hair follicles in a square inch of your head. So if someone was to look right there in that circle, how many hair strands would they find? Would it be a high amount, a medium amount, or a low amount? Sometimes you see girls and they're on YouTube and they have so much hair. It is not just the hair structure that we're seeing their hair density. They have very dense hair. And then some girls, they add a lot of pieces and it still kind of looks regular because they have a low amount of density. Their hair density is low. The good thing is you can see how closely each hair follicle is to the next. If they're very close, it's most likely that you have high density hair. If they're very far, you have low density hair. And if they're pretty even and pretty, not too bad, not too far, not too close, you probably have a normal density hair. Another good way to test this is if you take your hair and you put it in a ponytail and the ponytail is less than 2 inches, you probably have low density hair. If it's between 2 and 4 inches, you probably have normal density hair. And if it's larger than 4 inches, you most likely have high density hair. When your hair is laying down, if you can see your scalp without touching your hair in the mirror, if you're like standing here and you have your mirror and you're looking and you can see your scalp without taking your hand and pulling your hair back to see it, you probably have low density hair. If you can somewhat see it but not quite see it, you probably have normal. And if you cannot see it at all without taking your hands and parting it, you have high density hair. Porosity. Porosity is a big one. We always talk about porosity. The porosity options you have are low, medium, and high. Usually with those types of porosities, they coexist, low being a dry hair, medium being normal hair, and high being oily hair. So porosity is referring to the amount of space. The easiest way I can say is holes in your hair. Porous refers to holes. So porosity is the amount of holes or space within each single hair strand. So I'm sure a lot of you have heard of the water test. So you take a strand of hair. It needs to be clean hair. Make sure your hair is clean when you do this test. So maybe after you wash your hair and as you're detangling before you start putting products, just the natural shedding that happens, you usually lose between 50 and 100 strands every day. So there should be a regular lengthed piece of hair that falls out as you are detangling or combing through, or even just running your fingers through your clean hair. You want it to be clean hair. If you have hair that has products on it, there's a possibility that it will coat the hair and it will give you a false reading on what exactly your porosity is. Because porosity is holes, and if you have a coating of conditioner or whatever covering those holes, you won't be able to tell exactly what you're dealing with. Take that piece of shedded hair and put it in a glass of water. If your hair quickly falls to the bottom of the glass, that means your hair has a lot of holes in it. In other words, you have high porosity hair. Think of it as a boat. If you put a boat in water and the boat has a lot of holes in it, the boat's going to sink, and it's probably going to sink really fast. If your hair slowly goes down and maybe just sits in the middle, you have normal porosity. If your hair does not move from the top of the glass, even when you push it down and it goes back up, that means you have low porosity. If it's low porosity, there are no holes in your hair. In other words, it's not going to sink. Diagram up of a hair follicle so you can see the low porosity kind of looks like an elephant trunk. Just a few striations, like just lines that go across. As you go down to normal, you kind of see it lifts a little. And if you look at high porosity, you see it's just kind of like almost sticking out on top of each other. Another way, if you don't want to do the strand of hair, is just to take your hair, your clean hair, and take a section and just put a whole bunch of water on it. And if the water just kind of beads up on top of your hair, just like little circles of beaded water, you have low porosity hair. If the water kind of just regular, you see it kind of goes in, some of it drops, some of it stays in the hair, you have normal porosity hair. If it just sucks it right through and just lets it go out, you probably have high porosity. Hair structure. I think that's the best way I can say it, hair structure. When I say hair structure, I'm referring to the structure of your individual strands. Being that, is your hair fine, medium, or coarse? The easiest way to figure out if your hair is fine, medium, or coarse, other than eyeballing it, would be to take a piece of thread, lay this thread down, and then again, once you know natural hairs fall out, so when you have a naturally fallen out, don't go around pulling your hair out, but when you have a natural fallen out hair, lay that hair next to a piece of thread. A general rule of thumb, if your hair is thicker than the thread, your hair is coarse because it's thick. If your hair is about the same or a little bit less than this piece of thread, your hair is medium. And if your hair is significantly smaller or thinner than that piece of thread, you have fine hair, like me. Welcome to the party. And that's it. Coarse hair tends to be a little rougher because the strands are thicker. Think of it as a broader surface area, so that's why your hair feels a little rougher. If your hair is coarse, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That is perfectly normal. Everybody has different hair. If your hair is just almost invisible and you can barely see it, you have fine hair. When it comes to picking your product, that helps when you know your hair is fine or your hair is coarse or your hair is regular. Fine hair, things weigh it down really quickly. Coarse hair, because it's a little stronger, will probably handle a little bit more product. Your scalp moisture. This, again, is another one we don't speak to a lot, but your scalp is the pivotal point of your growth of your hair. If you don't understand what your scalp's doing, you're kind of in trouble. For scalp moisture, you have dry scalp, normal scalp, and oily scalp. Relatively easy. A lot of people, I think, ignore this because it can be changed based on how, what type of products you use, how well you are at taking care of your hair, if you're washing your hair regularly and not letting it build up with all that stuff. If you're clarifying is very important. I know when I was relaxed, I had to make sure I clarified every couple weeks. Clarify is very, very important when you use a lot of products. So after you wash your hair, maybe 2 days or so, without putting too many things in your hair at all, take a look at your scalp, at your roots. Does it look oily? Does it look dry? Does it look regular? That will try to give you an idea, is your hair normal, oily, or dry? Dry hair tends to get a lot of scalp flaking, dandruff, things like that happens with dry hair. Oily hair, you're constantly wanting to wash it. The oil will start here and just slowly you know, spread down to the rest of your hair. I have normal scalp moisture, which is what you kind of want. So either way you put it, if you have dry scalp, you want to add moisture to get your hair to be that normal spot. You're going to want to find products that are going to clarify that oil, strip away all of that moisture, and bring your scalp back to a normal state. Dry scalp, you're going to want to add more moisture to your scalp to help it. The healthier your scalp is, the healthier your hair is. That's where your hair grows from. So you want your scalp to be happy. The next part is the letter. The letter refers to your curl pattern. You have three options: curl pattern A, curl pattern B, or curl pattern C. I hear talk of D, but I'm not quite sure about that yet. So we're just gonna stick with the regular. In an A curl pattern, it's loose. In a B curl pattern, it's medium, and in a C curl pattern, it's extremely tight. The 4A, 4B, 4C, 3A, 3B, 3C, and 2s and 1s, all of these have different diagrams online. For the most part, 1 to 3 is relatively exactly the same. I don't see much difference. However long I've been looking at these things, when it comes to 4A to 4C, I didn't see a clear answer in a diagram because I saw multiple different answers with the hair strands being switched, and I'll show you what I mean. So in this diagram, you have 4A, 4B, and 4C, right? So 4B looks like a Z. You see a Z pattern. 4C looks like a very, very tight S, kind of like 4A. In this one, you see 4B looking like a cycle and 4C looking like a Z. In this one, you see 4B looking like an S, tight S, and 4C just looking like an even tighter S. Personally, I did not find a diagram that made complete sense with what the person was explaining and what the diagram was saying. It didn't make sense to my brain. So for me, the best way, because I am in the firm belief that 4B and 4C are getting confused very often. This is the best way I got, okay? Out of everything I looked at, this thing made the most sense to me. 4C, on top of being an afro texture, just like 4B and 4A, afro texture, kinky, coily, all of those things, right? 4C has the highest amount of shrinkage. You know, someone with their little 4C hair, with their hair like right here, you know, right here, it's nice, it's healthy, no heat damage. No heat damage, perfect hair, you know. It's sitting right here, and then they take it and they pull it and it goes down to like their butt or something crazy like that. That is 4C, extreme shrinkage. 4B has more sharp edges to it, and 4C has tighter coils, resulting in even higher shrinkage. I think I saw something that says 75% shrinkage for 4C and 70% shrinkage for 4B, which is only 5%. 4B and 4C are sisters and cousins and happy friends. That's the best I got. 4C, when fluffed out, can look like 4B. So when you're looking at these images online and people are like, oh, that's 4B, that's 4C, that's 4A, blah, blah, blah. If someone has their hair stretched out, it might look like 4B or even 4A, as opposed to when it's just wet out of the shower, it looks something different. So the only way that you can tell, honestly, is by you going at home, looking in the mirror and looking at your curl pattern in the mirror right after it's wet. That's the best that I got for you. In the comments below, tell me what you think about the 4B, 4C situation. Tell me what you think. Tell me if the Z one makes more sense for 4B or if the Z one makes more sense for 4C. So why is all this important? Why did I sit here for, it feels like an hour, which probably has been an hour for me trying to find the right words to say what I'm trying to say. But why am I trying to explain all of these nitty-gritty, detail-y things for you? Because you need to know, not just for knowledge to say that you know, you're confident about your hair, which is great. It's great to be confident about everything about yourself, but also that you can pick the correct products for your hair. Now, before I even say this, I know I've told you all this, and I know you're like, oh, okay, I know this, I'm this. I'm gonna throw a wrench in all of that. I'm sorry. so sorry. All of your hair is not the same. I know you know this. I know you know this. Like, I know you know this. All of your hair is not the same. There are different textures. There are different porosities. There are different scalp moistures. And there are even different types. And even some structures in your hair. So this side might have very low porosity. Or this side might have high porosity. This might be normal. This side may be very thick. This side may be very thin. This side may have high density. This side might have no more density. In the back might have low density. Your hair is different everywhere. I am so sorry to tell you this, but once you figure out exactly what's going on in your head, you will better be able to decide what products you want to buy. Knowing that your hair needs moisture because your hair has a low porosity, knowing that it needs more water and it needs to be soaked down and it needs as much attention as it can because it has low porosity, knowing that your hair is very thin, and if you put too much of a heavy product, that fine hair is going to way down. I'll probably start looking into another video to give you specific products like oils and stuff that work a little better for different types of hair structure, density, porosity, etc, etc. Yeah, I hope this video was helpful. I hope you can grab a little bit out of it. Tell me about what your hair is like. Tell me if you're 4C or 4B and if you care. Honestly, the 4B, 4C thing is important to know, but at the same time, porosity and maintaining a healthy scalp moisture, much more important. Makes a huge difference on your hair. This is just good information to have. So now that you kind of have an idea of what you're dealing with your hair, maybe you can go out and like do a little research. See what your hair wants, learn what your hair needs, and go from there. Like I will. I know it was long, but you needed to know. I needed to know. This was good research for me. I hope this video was helpful for you. I hope that you can now go out and be confident in your hair type if you weren't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. We are back with another video. Bloopers are only for the faithful. No, can't say that. We're not gonna say faithful. And the eyebrows are a little weird today, but you know, we do what we gotta do. Is it in the middle? Are you in the middle now? Yes? No? I really hope, like I really